walking with the ghost.
I just got through watching episode 2 of Netflix's Dracula, starring Klaus Bang, who's doing a bang up job of playing Dracula. Like I said in my last review, he reminds me of Christopher Lee, who played the role in the classic Hammer horror films Dracula, and he's just as you know as brutal, scary, bloodthirsty as Christopher Lee's version was. And what I liked about this episode is I like that it was like a murder on the Orient Express, but instead it was a murder on a vessel, named Demeter, which is the name of the ship. It was that type of a film, but on a ship. You know, and Dracula's killing off all these people left and right. He needs them in order to kind of raise his profile, to make himself look more well learned. I mean, he just has to bite and drink the blood of somebody if they want to learn how to speak German. There's one girl that's deaf and mute, and she goes by sign language. And he even said that maybe I need to pick up that language. So you know what he's going to do? He's probably going to bite the neck of her father, who knows how to sign, to his daughter. You know, there's a lady that's an elder lady and says she knew him, and she knew him because when she was 18 years old, she actually had a dance with the very count in this show. He's killing him off, and all along, it's kind of like a from the point of view of Dracula himself, because he's in his castle talking to Agatha Van Helsing. I'm wondering, how did Agatha get there? I mean, he let her live. We find out later on that he let Mina go and he kept Agatha, and they're there talking. They're playing chess, and throughout the entire show, they're wondering who's in cabin number 9. And Captain goes, "Well, that's a lady who turned up and she's very sick. And she's been in there and no one is off limits. I'm the only one that can go inside." And when it came down to murders happening, more so over like the following day, they were losing even more people. And they started getting really antsy. The crew and passengers were going, "We need to know who's in cabin number 9." Well, he goes, "Well," he opens it up and the stench is overwhelming. They don't want to go in there. They're practically, some of them are, one of them is practically almost puking. And he goes, "Well, I'll go in there," because apparently he doesn't mind. He has a strong stomach, I guess, and he can go in there, and goes in there, comes back out, and there's nobody, you know, there's nobody there, and aside from the sick passenger. But he says he searched in there. There's nothing else in there out of the ordinary. And it comes down to a really real twist. And as the show is going on, you find out that, because Agatha is like, she looks down at the chess board and realizes that she, at first, she looked like she was winning. She was like claiming pawns and moving her chess boards, her the pieces around like a well versed chess player. And then she looks down and realizes she's losing. She goes, "I thought I was winning." And then they're talking, right? And then she has like a realization that she's not there at the castle of the count. But then you kind of see this really cool shot. It kind of pulls back, and it actually goes through the 9, and you find out that she is that sick passenger in what do you call it? And the on the ship, on the vessel, the Demeter, the Demeter, yeah, the Demeter. That's the name of it. It's a very unique kind of a name. It's kind of hard to remember, and you remember it's like, how do I pronounce it? But yeah, you find out that she indeed was passenger number 9, or not passenger number 9, but the passenger in cabin 9, and he's been feeding on her and making her last, as he always says. Now, what happens is that then, the count kind of tries to make them all think, right, that she's the killer. They have her already up in a noose, and she's trying to play kind of like she's trying to play with their head and says that she's trying to convince them that she's Dracula, that she's a vampire. I mean, not Dracula, but she's a vampire. You can't kill me if you hang me, whatever. And then she has like blood. And the Dracula, of course, if he sees blood, he starts getting very ravenous. He starts like his eyes start turning red and fangs come out, and he can't stand to look at blood. If he does, he's going to give himself up. So she spits at him, blood on him, and he starts, hissing, and he walks off to the side, and then he turns around and goes, "Excuse me, pardon me, that I just can't stand the sight of blood, especially if it's spat in my face." And then they decide that they want to try to, and then they just don't know, and then about what to do with her. And then he just says a few words, and he just kicks the barrel out from under her feet. But then the other guys there, they catch her as she goes down, and they take the noose off of her. And this episode really is just was really well done. I liked the tension. I liked how it moved along. And like I said, I'm a fan of like those kind of movies like Murder on the Orient Express and those Who Done It's. I mean, even that classic board game Clue. You know what I mean? I mean, they even made a movie about it. I don't know if the movie wasn't that great, but I just like those type of movies, TV shows, whatever. And those Who Done It's, if you will. And I like how it unraveled. I like the twist when it came to Agatha actually now being a vampire. You see her nails being, coming off one by one, and then she even comes up with a great thing with when it came to a plan to destroy Dracula. They got rid of all of his 50. He had 50 crates of sand from his homeland, in a separate one because they wanted to have that one to put him in. And they decided that they're going to use all of the sulfur, gunpowder, and all that stuff to blow up the ship. And they were able to do that, and seemingly they got rid of him. They were able to, I mean, before I get to this part, they even made that circle that she used to do. Remember, she had the bread of sacrament, and she made that circle, and she did that with pages of the Bible. If I'm not mistaken, I think that's what it was because she asked for the Bible, and they showed her like tacking these pages down, so it had to be from the Bible. And this whole thing, we find out that that guy who was married to Dora Bell was actually lovers with this guy that was like his assistant because he even said it, and then he was all bold and everything, and thinking that he can go face to face with Dracula. He steps out of the damn circle, and then Dracula right away, drinks blood from him, and then before that, they thought that the guy Peter was bitten, and they even told him, "Hey, step out the circle. If you're contaminated, you can't walk out. You can't step out of the circle," and he was able to. And they thought, that they had him. They thought that, they got rid of him. They blew up the ship. Of course, she was on there, and she knew she was dying. The guy that was the captain, realized he said to her straight up, he said, "I'm gonna go down with the ship." And he even brought a wine. He said, "Let's go upstairs." He ends up getting killed, and then he and Dracula go upstairs, and she's trying to kind of keep him talking, kind of keep him preoccupied, so that the captain can blow up the ship. He actually does that, and he seemingly looks like he is actually destroyed in the ship along with Agatha and along with the captain. But we realized that he was able to get into his coffin. We actually see at the bottom of the ocean as Peter and the other fella, the very big, rotund guy, bald-headed guy. They ended up on a little boat, one of the what do you call those things? But one of those little boats, and they're on their way headed to England. I believe that's where they were going. They were actually going. I know that, but I don't know if that's where they were at that point. They probably gonna head to the nearest port or the nearest place, nearest island town, or whatever you want to call it. And he's able to break out of the thing, and he swims up, and he gets to the you know, he's able to get to the the beach side, the out of the water, and all of a sudden, there's like you hear helicopters, and the light flashes on them like a like a spotlight. And all of a sudden, we see someone that looks like Agatha, talks like Agatha, and she's like, "Welcome, Count Dracula." And you see these guys with weapons drawn. Looks like it's modern day. It's weird. I don't know if who knows. Maybe that is modern day. Maybe that's her like sister or something that looks like her. And it's weird because if that's her, it's kind of ooh, what is that? What's that about? What is that about? Like it's she's there, but wasn't she contaminated? Wasn't she becoming an undead and she blew up in the ship? So that's one of those things where I'm gonna see in episode 3 to finish off this season, and I think honestly think that this show, the way they did it, an hour and a half every episode is really something that is very clever because it's smart because it's like there's a lot of people that don't like the 30-minute episodes only or even the hour episodes only because they still want to see some more. I think an hour and a half is totally enough because it totally puts everything that they can, because I counted and it's like 4.5 hours for the total 3 episodes together, and if they did 30 minutes that would be like 9 episodes. So they can easily break it down into 30 minutes each episode, but that wouldn't be enough. And they would be doing a lot of cutting, a lot of stuff. So it's like it wouldn't be complete, in every episode. It would be like still some questions, like, but here at least everything it seems and it feels like it's a different, like it's this, like this could be this part two, like a sequel to the first episode that was like a first episode was like a movie, 90 minutes, and then this one was like part two, like the sequel, right? It's like and it's like a different feel to each episode, but at the same time, it has that linear story with Dracula. Like this one wasn't anything near like the first one because how that went, right? So it's like it's really just great. And like I said, I like the theme. I like how they were able to do it like a whodunit type of thing. And like I said, we knew who done it, but they didn't know. But I enjoyed this episode, and I really, really hope that this thing gets extended, and that there's like a season two. I mean, this is based on Bram Stoker's Dracula, and that's where the whole thing of Dracula came from. That's where it you know was given birth, is from that book. The whole time, this whole many decades later, and we're still infatuated and still interested and intrigued by Dracula, the legend. So this episode really does just continue this momentum for this show, and I'm really looking forward and excited to the episode 3. I'll be watching that sometime this week, and to top off this entire show. And like I said, I hope this show continues. It'll be really great to see season 2. And for those of you who stopped by and checked out this channel, I appreciate it. And let me know what you think down below of this episode and this series so far. If you watched the whole series, please don't put no spoilers down there. Just let me know what you think about the show. And you guys fans of the Hammer horror films, the original Dracula. When it comes to Bela Lugosi, or even like I said, my favorite Christopher Lee. But like I said, appreciate it. You stopping by and checking out my video. And in closing it, as always, take care.